Welcome to the MCast. I'm really grateful today because we have a superstar in the house, man larger than life, Jake Karls, co-founder of Midday Squares. One of my favorite go-to snacks, actually. Welcome to the MCast.
I love that. Superstar is an interesting word. I'm grateful to be here. I know we've been chatting for a while, just via social media.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see full circle moments coming together in person. I love that. Like when you connect through the digital world and over time, eventually it brings you to the physical world. So fired up to be here, and I'm excited that we're going to get a little deep together.
Yeah.
We're going to go a little sexy and deep.
It's interesting because when we first started the MCast last season, I had a list of people I want to bring on, and Midday Squares amongst many other local entrepreneurs that are like trailblazing.
Unfortunately, we're number 5, 6, 8.
Yeah, no,
we got to move that right to 1, baby.
You can ask around here. You guys were like top 5 for sure.
Well, I appreciate that.
And
We're moving to top 1. That's the goal. Let's make today's interview top 1.
100%.
And you have a beautiful story. And
Appreciate
I can also call you guys, you're crazy.
Oh, yeah. You have
crazy.
to be.
You woke up one day and you've decided to enter an 8 billion industry, and we're going to create our own chocolate. How do you guys come up with this idea? How did the whole thing started? Let's start with these 2 questions, and then we'll dive in.
I love the idea of disrupting. I think disruption is what true innovation is in the world. And when we started in August of 2018, my sister, my brother-in-law, and I, so it's a family business, but we're not in business because it's family. We complement each other's skill set. Everyone said to us, the world doesn't need another chocolate bar. The world doesn't need another snack. There's hundreds of thousands of different products. You guys are out of your mind. You're not going to win. The odds are stacked against you. And, if you listen to people, and a lot of those people loved us and love us and care about us, and some just don't, but there's too much noise. And if you listen to that noise, you're never going to actually get something done in life. And the world is, unfortunately, by its nature, in my opinion, and I'm an actual optimist, not a pessimist, but it works against you to achieving greatness. And what I mean by that is the world wants you to be the herd. It wants you to follow, the easy path or the average path or the safe bet. When you choose to do something a little bit more bold or a little bit more crazy or a little bit more different, the world starts to kind of push you back into the average or to the herd. And when we started Midday Squares, we're like, no, we really believe, delusionally, like in a good way, that we can build a new age chocolate snacking empire. And when I say empire, I mean like a meaningful, scalable snacking business that is known globally down the line. So not just in Canada, not just in the United States, but across the world, internationally. And that was the vision. And we said to ourselves, if we could do this over the next 20, 30, 40 years and build the next biggest chocolate snack company, that's the vision we're putting forward. And again, everyone told us we were crazy. And I'll never forget, we launched this business August 2018 in our condo kitchen in TMR. My sister and brother-in-law had have a condo. We moved everything out of the den, everything, and we put like these fold-up tables that everyone knows about fold-ups. We put a little bit of sheets, and we put a little bit of mixing machines, and we started hand-making bars every single day. And it was 50 bars per day back then. 50 bars was the maximum that we were making. And we would hand make them from 5 a.m. till 5 p.m. And then from 5 p.m. till 10 p.m., we would actually hand deliver them to the customers that were buying samples at 25 cents a sample. And it was just, going back gives me like PTSD a little bit, but it was just like, we had this like unconditional self-belief that we were able to achieve this. It was delusional. We blocked out everything, every bit of negativity or every bit of doubt that people around us, and we just needed to create a bubble of momentum, a bubble of optimism that we can disrupt this $8 billion, which is actually a $100 billion market cap globally in terms of chocolate snacking, and that we could become this new age giant down the line. And we're not there yet, but we've definitely come a long way for the last 6 years. And we've beat out some of the odds that are out there to, that we should have failed, in quotations. But again, I think that if you're going to build a business, go into something saturated. And this chocolate is saturated. There's so many brands. Why do I say that? Is because you don't need education. I don't need to tell you what Midday Squares is. It's a healthier chocolate bar. That's easy for you as a consumer to understand. But if I were to start putting in crazy ingredients, crazy little niche things, then as a business, I have to educate you as a customer, which takes a lot of time. I have to get your attention. I have to get you to opt in to want to learn something new, and then I could sell you. So for us, we chose chocolate because it's saturated and consumers already know what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a love language across the world. You have chocolate for good vibes. You have chocolate for good vibes. You tell someone in Germany and you see someone in Canada, chocolate's the same thing. It has the same purpose.
But you guys were in, like, I mean, I still remember when I had your chocolate. It was a colleague of mine. She used to work with us, and she said, Ali, like, this chocolate bar on the market right now. It's so good. It's so tasty. So the day after, she shows up with a whole box for the office. And my business partner, Chris, and I, we fell in love with the packaging, with the way how we tested. And since then, we started following you. And everything that you guys do on social media is so organic. It's storytelling. And you're doing a good job at just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
right? It shows the struggles. It shows the wins. It shows the problems, the challenges. It's
well, other than that, if we don't do that, so you're kicking on something that's probably the most critical part of probably this interview, in my opinion, even though I don't know what's next after I didn't get the questions before, but if we just sold a chocolate bar that was healthy and it was good product market fit, people loved it. If people don't know about it, then it doesn't matter how good the product is, we're not going to succeed. So when I told my partners in 2018, August, I said, guys, if we want to win in this, again, saturated market, if you go to a grocery store, there's 40,000 different items on a shelf, 40,000 in like a Walmart or a typical large supermarket. So in order to stand out, we're not going to be able to stand out by one space on the shelf. It's going to be almost impossible for you as a consumer to find it. We need to get people to be fans, similar to your colleague that you talked about, introduced it to you. We need to turn people into fans because they'll go do that word to mouth. They'll go shout about it. But also you as a customer will now feel like, I know this team. I feel closer to this team. I'm emotionally connected to this brand. It will take away the transaction and it will turn it into a fan or a community-driven product. And I always tell people, we decided to not tell you about our chocolate bar in our marketing. We didn't tell you that it's got 6 grams of protein, 4 grams of fiber, good fats, because that's boring. That would bore you after 1 second. What I told my team is we need to tell a story that relates to human nature. If you think about storytelling, it's been around for as long as we've been humans. Think about thousands of years ago. It's actually in our DNA to tell stories to each other. So I said to my partners, if we just show the good and the bad in a very transparent, vulnerable, real way, people will be attracted to the story and the emotionality, which will then take the commodity out of the chocolate bar and make it mean something more than just a chocolate bar. So when you went to the store or your colleague went to the store, you guys looked at the product, you're like, I actually know this company. I like them. I want to cheer them on. I want to support them. You are now a fan. You are not buying just for the sake of buying a product. And that was a strategy that we utilized and we continue to utilize today. Is what separates us. We get millions, tens of millions of views organically a year across North America, which helps us sell millions of chocolate bars. Because at the end of the day, consumers are on their phone, not just to look for features of a product. They're looking for added value to their lives, entertainment, education, or emotionality. If you're not giving that as a business, whether you're selling houses, whether you're selling plumbing, whether you're selling chocolate bars, you're fucked.
Well, you guys have done a fantastic job at presenting the product, right? It doesn't only taste good, but the packaging is on point. Yep. I love the portion size. And I like the fact that it is one of the only chocolates that I see in the fridge, right? That tells me that there is less preservatives on the product without having to read the label.
Yep.
That's already attractive as well. So you stand out from what's on the shelf.
Yeah, well, look, if I take you if we go walk right now to the grocery store and we go to where the typical bars are, where there's a ton of bars.
That's right.
You and I are going to have decision fatigue. We're going to look at it. We're going to be like, you're going to look, you're not going to know what to choose. You will get this analysis paralysis is what they call it. And then you'll probably choose the brand the best, which is probably like Cliff Bar or Kind Bar. They're huge, right? And they've built successful, great businesses. But if I take you to the fridge now, you look at a bar and you're like, why is this typical bar now in a refrigerated section? What does that mean? Better for you? Fresh? So when you think about fridge, you think of fresh products, things go bad. That's right. Subconsciously healthier. And we at Midday Squares are very bullish on this idea of the fresh snacking category. I believe over the next 5 to 10 years, you are going to see a huge influx of brands now put their products in the fridges because they know that the consumer of today wants better for you stuff that tastes good. Remember, it has to taste good. If it doesn't taste good, people aren't going to buy it, but they want to indulge on better for you products. And a lot of the better for you products now are entering the refrigerated section. So I believe we were early in on that. And there's a brand in the US called Perfect Snacks. And shout out to them because, and again, this is about the abundance mindset we talked about, but shout out to them. They are a competitor of ours, but they spent the last 20 years building the refrigerated category in the US for snacking bars. They're a different type of product, but they're in the fridge. And they inspired an entire amount of other brands to go into that refrigerated section and show that it's possible. They are now a hundreds of millions of dollar business. And I think that we can be that new version of that. And again, I think we're still early, and that's where I love it, is when you're early on something, there's so much potential down the line, but it's painful to get there. The amount of pain it is to get in a refrigerator is not, there's not unlimited space. You can't just put a pallet in the store. So you're actually at a way bigger disadvantage from a supply chain standpoint and from a ability to grab space standpoint. You can't, there's no room.
Yep.
So it's a double-edged sword. But again, I always believe if you keep fighting, if you keep believing, if you keep executing, you're patient, you eventually win.
Of course. So let's back up to August 2018. You, your sister, and your brother-in-law, how does this come to mind? Is it because you guys want a healthier option than the average chocolate bar that you find at the gas station? Or are you guys from a family of entrepreneurs and you didn't want to work for the man and you wanted to be the man? Tell me the story behind starting.
So I've been surrounded by entrepreneurs my whole life.
Yeah.
I've watched people go from nothing to something, with hard work, resilience, and thinking big and being delusional, actually. And I think subconsciously seeing that over time is extremely empowering and motivational. And for me, when I was in university, I was trying to prove to everyone that I'm actually academically strong, because I failed in my high school years. I didn't do really well. And people used to look at me and be like, you're an outlier for the negative. And when I came to university, I tried to be an actuary, which is, one of the hardest programs you could do. And I didn't do it because I wanted to. I did it because I wanted to prove to people, including friends, family, acquaintances, that I'm actually a smart person. And I thought smart meant academically strong. And that's what I was convinced as a kid and through society, other than watching the entrepreneurs who literally didn't graduate school and they hustled, and I was around these people. But I still want to prove to people that I was smart. So I studied actuary and I failed, and I was doing horrible, and I was applying to jobs, investment banking jobs, actuarial jobs in my third year university. And I'll never forget, I got rejected from every 36 interviews. I couldn't get past the first interview. And the reason why I couldn't was not because I didn't deserve it, but it's because I was playing somebody else's game. I was trying to play the game that someone else is way better at. I was trying to be like somebody else. I wasn't being Jake. Jake is not that person. And there's nothing wrong with that person. It's just there's other people better at that game. So when I got rejected after the 36th interview, I was sulking on my parents' couch. I'll never forget this. I was going to do a job I didn't want to do. And I was flipping through the channels and I saw Shark Tank. And there was this guy that was pitching his dream on the TV, and must have been middle-aged, 50, 60 years old. And he had kids. He had 2 mortgages on his house, I think, or one mortgage to pay his business. I don't know what it was, but he had so much to lose. He could barely put food on the table for his kids. But he was so happy. He was so free. He was so energized. He looked like he had joie de vivre, as we say here in Quebec, right? And I was like...
He was being himself.
Yes. And I looked at this guy. I said, what the hell? I'm 20 years old at the time, 21. I have a roof over my head, thank God for my family. I have food on the table. I have a loving family. I have friends. I have things that we would need to survive in life, let's call it. But I don't have my dream job, in quotations, which I thought was my dream job. And this guy is just putting it all on the line. I said, whatever he's on, I need. And I realized that I just need to lean into myself. And at that moment, I realized that I need to try entrepreneurship. And in that moment, I tried my first business. It was a fitness business, did well with it. And then I closed that business because I lost passion. Then I started a party business, failed at that. And then my sister and brother-in-law came to me and approached me, and they're like, let's join Midday Squares. But everything I got to do during that time was I learned more about who I am and what I'm good at and what I love. And as I got through 10 years of entrepreneurship, I've now learned exactly what I want to do in life, who I want to be, and who I actually am. And now I follow that to the T. And my job today is I am a rainmaker, which is basically someone who builds friends for the organization and builds community for the brand. So I go out there, I do podcasts like this, I teach class, I speak a lot, I do a lot of social media. I'm always traveling, but that's who I am. I'm not the guy that's going to be a manager or an executive. It's just not, I'm not good at that. And my sister and my brother-in-law prior to this were both entrepreneurs too. So my sister had a fashion business, which ended up closing, and my brother-in-law had a software business he had some success there. And when we came together, they were making a chocolate snack already for their day-to-day snack. My sister's a foodie, so she was making him, Nick, my partner, my business partner, my brother-in-law, this snack for 2 years prior to MDS.
Okay.
And then, we all came together and we read some data. Data is critical to any organization that showed that chocolate was growing, real chocolate was growing year over year, and that plant proteins were growing year over year, and they were making the baby of that. So the product was already there. The product market fit was there, and then they needed me to come on and blow up the brand. So when you put 3 different skill sets together, with the vision that we can achieve anything or anything's possible, we actually had a strong foundation, and then we launched Midday Squares. So this was a product that was being made at home way before, just not knowing it's a good business product.
So it's something that you were making for yourself, and then you decided to turn it into a business.
Yeah.
So everything, and the beauty is that the three of you all bring something different. Like one was in IT and software.
Yep.
The other one was in fashion, and then you're a numbers guy.
Yep.
So you went to school, you want to be an actuary, and the reason your story resonates with me so much is a few things. One, I was shit at school too. and I was always like, growing up in DDO on the West Island, like I was always around kids who thrived, and either they were like a part of, like, they were kids of parents who had big businesses, or they were kids of parents that were professionals. My parents were immigrants. So my dad had a business and my mom worked, and but I never did good in school. But my older sibling, she always did well at school. So I'm kind of like the black sheep now, right? and then I'm looking at you, and another thing that resonates with me is that I too at one point looked at myself and said, I come from a background of IT. So I went to university. I worked in IT. I hated it. I used to have knots in my stomach every morning.
You were in IT before you transitioned to real estate.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I was in IT. I hated it. I used to drive into work. I'm driving on the 40. I'm grabbing to carry. I have knots in my stomach.
Miserable.
Yeah. It's the rat race, right?
Yeah.
And I used to always look at like businesses, like, what can I do? Can I start my own software company? Can I start my own IT consulting business?
Your mind was racing.
My mind was racing. And then I remember my dad hired a real estate broker, a prominent West Island commercial real estate broker, to sell one of his properties. The guy came in, signed the brokerage contract, sold my dad's property in 2 weeks. The commission payable on it was $80,000. I was not making $80,000 a year at that point.
And that shocked you, probably.
My dad turns around in his office on the corner of Sources and Hymas. I remember this like it was yesterday. And he goes, "You have the gift of gab. You can do what he did. And in one transaction, you're going to make more than you made."
You couldn't unsee that.
This year. And very simple. My dad said to me, there is no business in the world that, because he asked me, he goes, "How much is it going to cost?" I go, "Okay, well, real estate course, $3,500, first year in business, marketing, maybe buying a nicer car." He goes, "Okay, let's round it up to 15 to 20 grand.
Yeah.
He goes, "There's no business in the world that you could start today with 15 grand and have unlimited income." I bet
crazy.
you even your startup
Oh, it was very expensive.
cost was expensive.
We've raised $17 million of venture money, and then $4 million from the government as debt to build this thing. And again, I don't know if I'd go into consumer again after Midday Squares, whatever that ending is for us. $1 billion business.
Because I'd like to talk about your transition from consumer to consumer.
Yeah, it's
to
hard.
business.
Yeah.
After, right?
Yeah.
And I believe you sold your first 750,000 bars by 2019.
I believe.
And that was the switch where you guys went to businesses after that.
Yeah, well, I think, look, first of all, I'm going to answer that, but to kick on to your point is, I don't think the school system's bad. I think school is good for a lot of people, and, the university system and stuff, but I think that some people it's not good for. And for you and maybe me and you, I don't know, it wasn't the most ideal, and there needs to be another option. And, for me, after this podcast, I'm going right to teach a guest lecture at HSA, and it's about marketing, but it's not about typical, price, this, that, all the PPP. I can't remember how they do it, 4 Ps or something. No, I'm going in to talk about storytelling, how to communicate, how to be yourself, and encourage students and to think like that, to think bold and think different. But that's what we need. We need the options at school. And I think that if we do that, we can have a huge win over the next generations of kids that will be so successful in their professional careers, their entrepreneurial, their self-employment, whatever they're doing. But we need to give options, and it shouldn't just be one route or the highway. It has to be the ability to do things. Now, for you, when we did sell a certain amount of bars, we knew that we actually had to get off D2C, which is direct to consumer, and start selling at retail. And they're two different businesses. Retail and D2C is completely managed differently. It's a completely different beast. And people forget that. They think, oh, you sell online, it's the same thing as selling at a store.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
We We are now a 70% retail business, 30% direct to consumer. So online's 30%, retail like stores like Walmart Canada, Target in the US, Whole Foods. That's our bulk business. But they're run differently, and the teams think differently within our company of how they do things. Now, the storytelling is very much the same. We are building a brand, and when you build a brand, you just want to have that emotional connection where people know and want to try your product. We just make it as easy as you want to buy it at your local grocery store, or do you want to buy it on our website? We just want to give you all the options. But at the end of the day, they're completely different businesses, and you need a hybrid today's world. It's very hard to do just one or just the other. So the hybrid, in our opinion, would likely be like a 75-25% would be the ideal. But yeah, we hustled on doors to get into retailers. And, we had a local bagel shop that's not in business anymore in Montreal. This guy, Jeremy, he took a chance on us early on to give us a chance to sell. And this is where I love talking about this, because people in your life are going to take a chance on you, and it could change your life forever. And he did change our life forever. And he's no longer in business, which is sad. But he elevated us. And I hope I get to see him one day. I don't know where he is. And if he's listening to this, please reach out, Jer. But for me, a bagel shop took a chance. We gave them a product to sell. They sold out in 1 week. We created so much hype around it that he sold out the next week like crazy. We then used that data to get us into a local salad shop, to a local gym. We used that data to get into more. And next thing you know, we're now in 9,500 stores across North America. And we're a top selling item in the United States, and we're not from there, right? And
that's amazing.
I just think that, look, again, I said it, patience, showing up, which I think is important, show up to relationships, show up to actually build those things, shows respect, and then tell a great fucking story, and you actually give yourself at least a chance at winning, which the odds are low anyways.
Let's come back to HSA. This is interesting. Here's a guy that says he was never good in school.
Yeah,
he was
funny.
Always the outcast. And this is what I love about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
This is a guy now that's going to speak at HSA. Yeah. So at one point you're like, shit, this is not for me. I'm in school. All these people are saying no to me. And that's what I realized. Like, I love that quote. There's doors that, closed on me. I'm coming back to buy the building.
Yeah. But dude, the people, it's like, I ain't angry at school. I didn't do well in school. I went to Western University. Great time. I love that school. I actually am giving back to that school a lot now.
Party school.
So much fun. I met all kinds of folks that are friends, I guess frenemies, all that stuff. But, because look, I didn't have a great experience in terms of academic, but that doesn't give me a sour taste. If I can now be part of some of the next inspiration for that, or help, mold a little differently to the students, then I'm winning and they're winning. And that's a W for everybody. And so for me, it's like, I learned a big lesson from one of our board members was, your opinion will change over time, and that's okay. And like, if you thought one thing, a year ago, and then you got new information and new knowledge, that's okay to completely change. It's okay. But people stop themselves. They're like, oh, well, if I said that a year ago, I can't be that. That's the dumbest thing in the world. Yeah. You're just preventing yourself from growing. So
you're handcuffing yourself.
Yeah, I used to think therapy was dumb.
You grow when you adapt, and you get your feedback from the market, and that's how you change your style of doing business, or things that need to be modified. When you look at our schooling system, it has not changed at all. It's still the same. They don't teach you how to build and nurture good relationships, how to be very authentic. Financial management.
They don't teach that.
Credit cards,
they don't. And these are the things that you, as an entrepreneur, had to learn by yourself and learn from. And a lot of mistakes have been made for sure, right? But you've stayed consistent. You've trusted the process, and you knew very soon that you have to keep revamping your skill as you build and nurture good relationships.
100%. And I think that like a great example of an opinion change for me was, I used to think therapy, like going to a therapist was in my opinion, was not for me. I thought it was something that, only people that are sad do. And my partners asked me day one of the business, they made me sign an actual contract, said that I would go to therapy with them once a week in good or bad times, perpetual for the rest of my life. To protect our partnership, to protect our communication, to protect our family.
Phenomenal.
But I looked at them, I said, guys, I'm happy. I don't need this. This is not for me. I was naive and immature. And then now I've become such a advocate for therapy. It's changed my life. It is one of the greatest things in the world. And, I go once a week minimum.
This is fantastic.
It's one of my favorite things. And mental health is critical. I've had a burnout. I've been depressed in this journey. Yeah. And you need coaching. You need people in your corner that are going to help you. And my therapist, Dr. James Gavin, it's our business therapist as well, is a life savior for me. I'm seeing him today. I saw him yesterday. And it doesn't mean I'm lesser of. It doesn't mean that. It actually means that I'm working on myself to be a better leader, to be a better husband, to be a better human, a friend, a better family member. And I think that people forget that they just have these opinions on therapy. And I'm trying to be more of a person that's open about it, to share with the world that this has changed my life for the greatest I can give. It's probably one of my best investments I've made to date. But I used to be not against it, but I used to be like, I don't need this.
I was exactly like you before I started it myself. And my wife works in my business as well. So it's so critical for us.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy at all. And you're working with your sister and your brother-in-law.
Yep.
I can't picture working with my siblings, but if I did,
scary.
It's scary. Exactly. You have to make sure that, you know, everything that you're going to say in front of the therapist, put it out on the table, but then go back and be the best 3 leaders you could be for MDS.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
And like, look, at the end of the day, like, I always tell people say businesses fail because of capital. I actually disagree. That's one of the reasons. But if you just look at the data, a lot of the reasons why, you know, small businesses or large businesses fail, believe it or not, is actually founder or partner conflict. So what ends up happening is people start off all hype, your friends, your family, you're this, you're that. You're like, oh yeah, let's build a business. We're all excited and all that jazz. And then slowly when money, pressure, hardships get put into the pot, you start to have animosity. You don't communicate. So you start to hold, you know, animosity or tension starts to build, and then boom, it all blows up. And you no longer care about that person. You just want out of the business. The business will collapse. And because that causes legal, it causes all kinds of fight. And I see it countless amounts of time. Partners do not take care or nurture or maintain their partnership. We spend $70,000 a year on therapy to protect the partnership, both from a family perspective. You're working with your wife. I work with my brother-in-law, my sister. I love them dearly. I'd never want to lose them as family. It would be reckless to be $1 billion business and then lose them as a family member.
100%, of course.
So we protect it. And I think going forward, anyone that's listening to this, if you're going to start a business, don't choose a friend or a family member because it's easy, because you're comfortable and you're having fun right now. Choose the right partner based on skill sets.
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to choose somebody, work on communication. Make sure that communication is the forefront of your partnership, that you guys are honest, that you guys are transparent, that you speak about hard conversations. Don't hold back. And I think that if you do that, you're giving your business, again, a good chance at winning. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing better than the soul of a business, which is usually the founding team has the soul. You start to lose that, starts to rift off as soon as hardship comes in, because you're not realigning, you're not communicating. Every week we show up to that therapy session on Tuesday morning. Every single week, it shows that we are committed to this partnership for the future. And no matter how hard the times or how mad I am at my sister or how mad my brother-in-law is at me, when we see each other in that therapy session, we know for a fact that we're here because we are all aligned. We want to be here. We love each other, and we're working on it. And it's changed my perspective and changed my life on everything. And again, communication and transparency, I believe, is the forefront of any business.
Love it. Interesting. Yeah. What are the as you were growing and to handle the demand on your product, what was like? How do you guys scale from what's the
0 to 447 million?
I would say yeah. Okay, what were the biggest struggles you faced in the early stage of the brand?
First of all,
as you were growing,
a lot of noise. Like I said before, a lot of people, people you care about, not saying it in a negative way, but saying it in a realistic way, that why are you doing this? The world doesn't need that another chocolate bar. And when people care about say that, you get nervous. You start to get doubt a little bit, right? That's number one. Number two, I would say that winning in the refrigerated section has been really difficult. Because again, you have to educate now a new set of buyers to be like, why would I take this bar and put it here when you could be over there where everyone else is? So they're not used to buying a snack like that. They're buying dairy products. They're buying, beverages. They're not necessarily buying chocolate bars, right? So they don't understand the same, stuff that the bar set would understand. And then last but not least is manufacturing our own product. As fun as we talked about social media that we're really good at in storytelling, we're a manufacturing business. We're an industrial business.
That's right.
We when we were scaling our business, we were making them first in our condo, hand making 50 bars a day. We went to 26 co-packers. So that's basically a third-party manufacturer that could do it for you.
Like a ghost kitchen?
Yeah, but they're huge. They do every product that 90% of products. Yeah, they do everyone. Went to 26, and each one told us, we cannot make the product the way you want, But we could change it to this. And every time that we'd come in with Midday Squares, it would come out as something else. And it would look more like everything else on the market. Exactly like everything else. It was just different packaging, right? You put different packaging and different marketing, but you're then the commodities.
Yeah.
You're the same as everyone else. So my sister came back after the 26, basically rejection from a co-man, and she said, co-manufacturer, and she said, we're going to build this. And I said to her, with what money, number one, and she's like, well, find us the millions. We need 4.1 million, and we're going to go build custom machines. And we're going to build our own custom line of manufacturing. And I looked at her, I said, that's an entirely different business than we're doing. Because if we just co-man, it's third party, you don't worry about it. You just worry about sales and marketing.
Yeah.
But you have no control on your product.
You have no control, and your margin's lower.
That's
and
right.
You don't control the innovation, which is the disruption, which we talked about at the beginning.
Yes.
So we ended up taking the risk. We built it. It took 3.5 years or so to build it. Now we make about 90,000 bars a day in the facility in Montreal. And we last week, actually, 2 weeks ago, we had a day that was 103,000. So really crazy, from 50 bars per day 6 years ago to be able to make 103,000 in a day today with custom machines. That's about 86 or 87% custom, manufacturing. We raised the money from the Quebec government. We're grateful for the debt programs that they have. They have some amazing debt programs for infrastructure.
Okay.
So if you're an entrepreneur listening to this and you want to start a business, there's a program called Investissement. I have no association with it, by the way. Investissement Quebec.
Yeah.
It is great for entrepreneurial, for manufacturing. So they want to keep jobs here. They are trying to invest in infrastructure, and this is not a political endorsement or anything like that. I don't get involved in that. But at the end of the day, it saved us because we were able to get 4.1 million of debt at a very inexpensive cost at the beginning of our business when we were doing under $1 million of revenue.
Okay.
So no one would have touched us. No bank was touching us. No investor was touching us at the time. So we ended up building that factory, and it's not perfect, the factory, but we've come a long way. Now we have an output capacity of up to 65, 70 million of revenue that we could do in Montreal's facility, but we're about to expand it and bring it up to maybe 150 plus million with another injection of capital. But again, 4 million to get that started just on the manufacturing. Forget about sales. Just to manufacture this thing at scale. It's not easy. But again,
well, you've stayed consistent and you've trusted the process.
But the hardships.
And you believed in the idea and
Yeah.
the product you were developing.
Exactly. You block out the noise.
Yeah.
And look, Midday Squares doesn't guarantee a success. At the end of the day, I'm sitting with you guys today, and I appreciate you guys giving us a voice and all this stuff, and we're having some good success. Last month we had our highest sales month, and that's great. But at the end of the day, there's no guarantee. This thing could crash at any moment. And, what will happen, and we're giving it our all, and that's all that matters. But at the end of the day, like, my sister had a major burnout, 2 months ago. She took a sabbatical for indefinite amount of time. She's our CEO. She stepped back. And the reason being is because there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of adversity throughout this journey that she took in, and she tried to, deal with and push through and fight through and keep going. And eventually the body and the human, the mental health just gave out.
100%.
And it's dangerous, right? And like I always tell people, like she didn't think she could let go because the business would fail if she let go. And she let go, and she let go, and the business is doing very well, and that's great because it's a testament to our team, how strong our team is, and the people we hired and empowered to execute, and they're better than us, the three of us. But the truth is entrepreneurship's not sunny and flowers. Yes, it's fun to be on cover of magazines, break records, and all that stuff, and that's cool. And be on podcasts and all this jazz, that's fun. But every day there's a fucking problem, and the buck stops at us, right? So we have to deal with that, and there's a lot of pain and pressure. And you said stomach knots.
Yeah.
Our health has taken a hit,
Course,
and
100%.
my mental health has taken a hit tremendously. And I don't think I'm a happier person I was 6 years ago. I think I'm an optimist, but I've seen a lot of the ugly side of the world throughout this game. People fucking you, suing you, all this stuff. People you trust. It's just, you see a dirty side that.
So business, you do see a dirty side big time. So that's so interesting because, when I open up Instagram or Facebook, I see, Jake is at the airport again. He's doing a milk run. He's off to Detroit. He's off to LA. He's breaking bread with these guys.
And you can relate because you're an entrepreneur yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And I love social media. So I'm an entrepreneur. I love social media. I love doing this stuff. What people don't see is you telling me today and Ali today on the MCast that my mental health has taken a hit.
Yep.
My physical health has taken a hit. I'm not as happy as I used to be 6 years ago. I'm more of a realist to what this world is about.
Yes.
Right? And I've realized that too. I've realized that through success, that when you look at what you do on a very macro level, on a big scale, and then you see how your life transformed, you realize, oh my God, like at what point did I stop and smell the roses? At what point did I have, everyone says, I want to get into business because, I want to make money and I want to be able to go to vacation and do whatever I want, whenever I want. Bullshit.
Well, people, they look at the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look at the
about
positive.
you guys, you're actually showing the audience what goes below the tip.
Yeah.
The struggles, the challenges.
The hardships, and like that's reality. And like, look, I'm still an optimist. And at the end of the day, I'm grateful for there's no gun to my head to do Midday Squares. I could leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
There'll be a little bit of consequences and stuff like that, but I can leave tomorrow. I feel alive, don't get me wrong, and I feel like I'm living purposefully, which is great. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of pain and loneliness through the game of entrepreneurship and the game of the career too, the career professional too. There's a lot of loneliness and moments of deep hardship. It's not one's better than the other, but what I could tell you is I do have a sense of freedom that I am super grateful for. And it's a privilege to wake up every day and come to do a podcast like this and then go teach a class after and not have to worry about a return on investment, in my opinion, on what I'm doing. So I am living unapologetically myself, I believe, which is, I think, the greatest accomplishment one person can have, because you being you is your superpower. You being you is your superpower. Not the product you sell.
You stay true to yourself.
That's
exactly.
So true.
That's the win of life. So listen, am I the happiest right now? No, because I have a lot of pain and hardships that I've been through. But at the end of the day, I would not take a different path. I don't regret anything I've done. Obviously there's certain mistakes I've made in my life that whatever, but as hard as Midday Squares is, I'm honored to be on the journey, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
So, Jake, let's a question that we usually ask at the start of the podcast. We're gonna ask it now. What does it mean to live a good life?
For Jake Karls.
Yeah, for me, not for, listen.
For you.
I can't tell for anyone else, right?
course.
But for myself, I think having a purpose and staying true to that purpose over time will mean a good life. Because at the end of the day, I always say, people, when you wake up feeling alive, and I don't mean like walking and feeling alive in that way. I mean like you feel like you can conquer. You feel like you're living, not just breathing, but you're living. I think that's a good life, and I've struggled to find that over time. Okay. But I think today, sitting with you guys, I'm feeling good. Like I woke up this morning, I felt alive. I felt like I actually living my purpose, and there's days where I don't feel that, but majority of the days I do, and I think that means I'm living my good life.
What's the exit plan for Midday Squares? Do you guys foresee growing to a very, very, very big company, being based out of Montreal, or would you be open to selling it one day? What? So we started this business choosing Montreal.
Yeah. I think that's super important. We had the choice between LA and Toronto to open Midday Squares, and probably would have been better at the beginning to open in one of those places because there's bigger markets and more entrepreneurial spirit, believe it or not.
There is. Yeah.
A lot more support, actually, but there's nothing like doing something for
local,
your hometown.
No,
yeah.
That's so true.
And, you look at, Hershey's started in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and did a lot for them.
That's right.
You look at Nike for Oregon.
Yeah.
You look at, what's another big one? Drake for Toronto, let's just say.
Of course.
The Raptors. Like you look at these staples, and they've built, pride for their cities. They've built this like fandom.
Yeah.
And I said to my partners, if we could build a new age of what Hershey's did in the better for you and modern day space, but do it for Montreal, wouldn't that be cool globally to be known as something other than just, let's say cheese or beer, or like, I guess we have some porn too here and stuff. But I think we have some big porn companies. But that was the goal at first. And then as we go, we're like, okay, this is really hard to build, and we're continuing to build it, and we're still energized. And, we're going to do this for as long as we are energized and feeling alive. You said the purpose, the question before. If we feel alive, we're staying in Midday Squares, and we'll build this for generations of legacy brand and acquire other businesses and hopefully be, maybe a public company one day on Toronto Stock Exchange. Or we get acquired. And I don't know when that would happen, if that does happen, but we aren't opposed to any option. So I think for us is we're focused, horse blinders on building a great business. And whatever happens from that.
I see an influx of, sorry, Ali, but I see an influx of people like you in Montreal in the last 10 years. And that influx is like One Bone.
Yeah, One Bone's great.
Midday Squares. Smoke Show.
Yeah, Smoke Show's great too.
You know, like I'm seeing all these little things popping up, and I find it's our generation that did that. It's like, you know, like Montreal was known for, yes, cheese, beer, and, you know, I think I'm pronouncing it right, but schmata.
Schmata, schmata. Clothing.
So, clothing,
we the
right?
biggest clothing
exactly.
in North America.
Chabanel, you know,
it's huge.
the Jewish community.
Yeah.
So, and now it's like these entrepreneurs in our age group, in our 20s, 30s, and early 40s. Now, this next demographic is starting to create all these brands. And I'm so grateful to say, like, sometimes I'm like, opening up my fridge, there's Smoke Show sauce, there's Midday Square, and then I'm wearing like a one bone t-shirt.
That's winning. And by the way, I wish both of you, I don't know you guys so well, but I've gotten to know you from this conversation and speaking to you guys on social a little bit. But I truly believe you're elevating, you know, other Montrealers. I think that you guys want other Montrealers to win, including yourselves,
100%.
obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think that in Montreal, and I say this, we need to do better as a society. Not you guys are great, but we, including myself in the past, we need to less judge, and we need to be more like, how can we win with each other? How can we say that if you're killing it and you're killing it, why can't I promote you guys and say, I'm fired up? And I give a great example. Royal Mount is a new operation in Montreal. It's a mega mall. And all I've seen is negativity. I've gone, I love it there. And I don't know why we have to be negative. Why can't we want things to win? Why can't we want people to win?
Elevate.
Why can we, this is great for us. And I think that we in Montreal, as soon as you get a little bit big, the heat starts to come on.
100%.
The criticism comes on. Instead of saying, you're killing it, fuck, let's go. Or let's cheer on Royal Mount.
That's what happened with condo projects. When I started selling Tour des Canadiens, L'Avenue across the street with the Broccolinis.
The negativity kicked in.
It's too big. It'll never sell.
Yeah.
You're going 50 floors. No one's going to buy it. People are going to lose their money. You're wasting your time. Keep selling houses in the West Island. Bullshit. I just, like you, kept my head down and plowed through, you know? And speaking of condo projects, in closing, before Ali goes, I know you're crunched for time here, but I got to say something. The first time I was introduced to Midday Squares, I was selling a condo project. Okay.
Look at that.
Yeah. So I'm selling a condo project and I haven't ate anything all day and buyers are coming in and I'm signing contracts and blah, blah, blah. And it's fall 2018. And I used to have this girl that used to work with me. Shout out to Sarah Jalali. She goes to me, I have these snacks. You got to try them. And I know you're health cautious, Raymond. You go to the gym. They're really low in sugar.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, she pulls out a Midday Square.
Oh my God, live. This is what I didn't know about this.
And I always
Shout out to Sarah.
I always have Midday Squares with me, but she pulled out the original one in 2018,
brownie
right?
batter, fudge,
So like the fudge, the regular chocolate one. So what I would do is, and true story, I would go to my gym, Physical Park, back in the day, it's closed now, or Monster Gym, depending on where I was. I would pick up 1 or 2 Midday Squares, and then I would go to Starbucks and I would buy my coffee. Because I would never want to eat like a donut or a muffin with my coffee.
You want something clean.
Lo and behold,
Guess
I walk
what?
into Starbucks a few weeks ago. I grab a coffee. I look down.
And they have it there.
I see all of their snacks that are refrigerated. And I see cookie dough and peanut butter.
We manifested that. And shout out to Starbucks for believing us.
I know you manifested that because you talked about it.
For many
How
years.
you would put it on and you'd say like, at Starbucks Canada.
Tag them in.
Yeah, you tag them and you would say like, look how many people want you. You would do a poll.
Resilience, patience, and execution.
Yeah, and I
possible.
always have these in my car. Any real estate broker out there that needs a
They're
snack.
endorsing. The real estate brokers are now endorsing.
100%. Yeah, we're going to be sponsored.
I'm sending you guys a bunch of boxes after this. But
you, buddy.
Anyways, I appreciate you. And
one more question,
thanks
last one. How do you maintain a good physique and working out to keep the mind sharp? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, they get so busy, they will neglect themselves.
The ability to realize that you need to step back and recharge, and your body can't run on empty. And once I burnt out a year and a half ago, and I realized that I need to take care of myself and fill the tank everywhere that can. Because if I'm running on an empty tank or if Tesla's not plugged in for enough, essentially it can't work.
That's right.
Same thing with the human body. Eventually, will tell you to stop. So working out, eating well, doing all that stuff actually fuels the tank. So I make time for that, and I'm less hard on myself. I think that's a big one.
Beautiful.
I love you guys.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks. Let's rock on, guys.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
I'm waiting for that box of Midday
I'll send it to you. Okay, can you take a picture? Then we got to go.
Yeah.